听到了，他们是听到。
OK。
他们说他有问题是在微信里问。
Okay, everyone, if you can hear me, if you do have any questions, please just talk in the a WeChat group. So because we're doing we have 3 monitors in front of us, and I can see all your talks in the WeChat. Okay. Okay, 32. We can start. Hi everyone, this is a live broadcast, and my name is Xiangxi, and I'm here to talk about finding and applying for federal job and internships. And this is our first pilot programs. And right now, in this PowerPoint, we're only talking about a very broad view of a federal job and looking for a federal job. We will mention we are not going to very details, because when we talk to details, probably everybody can go through the entire night. I just want to get everyone a basic understanding of, first of all, what is a federal job, how to apply for a federal job, how to what's the process of a federal job. Also, for this PowerPoint, I also this template I borrowed from OPM, which is Office and Personnel Management, and everyone can see the seal on the sign. The only thing is this one is originally designed for called a pathway pilot program for all the graduate students. So when we're planning for these seminars, originally I was thinking about for all the kids, high school graduates and college graduates who are thinking about a college career, a government career. But end up our survey indicate the most are parents participating. So I modified a little bit. And today's speech is most likely focused on adult and for all the parents. But there's other about 20 slides in the end, which I won't mention, but this is talking about this youth pilot program, which if you get this PPT, you can read on your own later on or present to your kid. Just everybody knows why we're talking only about 20 slides, but the total slide number will be 42. So anyone have any questions? You can talk in the WeChat group. Okay. 所以说话是有延迟的，但是说话是没有延迟的，但是 PPT 是有延迟的，对吧？
一样的。
一样的，对吧？
一样的。画面跟声音是一样的。
Okay, see. Okay, let's start it. 你这边能看见就是那什么，我就是知道这块东西已经切过去了。I will between slide I will give 5 to 10 seconds for all the slide to cut over, because there's a YouTube delay between here and there. So I just wanted to know everything is fine. As I mentioned, this template is borrowed from OPM, so give thanks to them, but it's open public information. I could not find a better template, so I stole from them. But anyway, OPM is across my hallway from my office, so I don't care what they're thinking. Okay, let me talking about background, introductions, and speaker and guest speaker of today. Today I have my friend Tang Haofeng. Edward is on the WeChat group, and later on he will talk about the government pay grade and what is appointed position and what is employed position difference. I will mention slightly a little bit, but if you do have a detailed question to ask what is a GS pay scale, those kind of stuff, you can talk right on the WeChat groups, which we have a sort of a separate guest thing right there. And our support is David is right next to me, and he's the tech support for the entire things. Again, if you do have any questions, writing to the WeChat groups. So hey David, I could not hear you. I could not hear Xiangxi and everything else. So if you do have any questions, WeChat is our platform to talk about. Just as you know. Okay, do a little bit self-introduction. My name is Xiangxi, and I came to the United States around 1999, 2000, when I was age of 16. The reason I came to United States is because my dad came to United States in 1938. Not 38, 1983, not the other way. And as the first group of the Chinese students came to United States after the open door policies. So I came I never saw my dad till age of 15. But one of the point is I was pretty horrible back to Chinese schools. So I'm very strong at the literature part, but I'm very poor in the math and the science part. So everybody knows I could not pass the national high school exams. So for go to college. So my grandpa says, hey, you'll have to bring my grandson into the United States. My dad did. I came to United States, went to a pretty good high school, graduated 23rd of my class, and go to college. First semester getting bored. Went to U.S. Army and play with landmine for 8.5 years. After I finished and also fighting Iraqi war for 15 months, running around. So I've been in U.S. Army. I have been in 7 countries. 3 of them are in Middle East. So, and after my military career, I did use my post 9/11 GI Bills. So finished my undergrad with no debt at all. Borrowed a little bit of money, went to graduate school. I changed my major 3 times during my undergrad. I enrolled in college as an electronic engineer, and changed my career into hospitality and tourism. And almost graduated in year 2008. Then figured out financial crash. There's no way I find a job. So afterward, I'm thinking, hey, I do have a background of military careers, and I'm looking for a stable job. So what should I do? And the best choice seems like government. And how I can compete in the government careers? What is the specialty they have to hire me? Okay, my Chinese is pretty good. So I changed my major 3rd time into a Chinese literature. And later on, during that period, I know one of the professors really liked my research and kept me in the school for a graduate study. So I got my master's degrees in Chinese linguistics. So that's my basic background. And after I graduated from college and graduate school, I was looking for a job for sure. And originally I was thinking about teaching Chinese, but ended up I threw 40 plus resumes to different branches. There's no response. I said, what else? Because my positions back to Iraq was a sort of a military police. These are very close to, but despite I'm a landmine specialist. So I did see a job posting that says, hey, we're looking for investigators from Department of Labor who can speak Chinese. I did apply. 3 weeks later, I got my job. That's my general basic background. And if you ask me why did I get a federal job, first of all, I do have a strong root in family, in U.S. government. My father is a college professor, full tenure track. My uncle is an FBI agent. My cousin is in a department of, what's the department of copyrights, could not remember which the government department is responsible for the
Copyright.
Copyrights approved those kind of
legal.
Not legal. Could not remember. Whatever. And my cousin-in-law is in the Department of Agriculture. So I have a strong background. My entire family are first-generation immigrants and all work in the U.S. government in the different branch. And my background, education life experience is really valued by the U.S. government. And I do have a general and confidential security clearance. I did apply top secret before, almost get a pass, but I dropped the ball. The only thing is after I will talk about the pro and cons for the security clearance, but I'm just thinking about what's more important, more money because the top secret, or I have a little bit more freedom on my side. And also, working for a government is very different from private sectors. So I did work in private sector before for certain times, but I still feel government is more fits my taste of a job. Most likely is the self-control and the freedom. OK， 切一下大屏幕，我要知道这个 play 的画面。 And we know we did do a survey before we get into the entire situations, like before I make this PPTs. I will use this PowerPoint as a base of I will use our survey as a base point of our PowerPoint. And I'm just talking about some statistics during this PowerPoint, and I'm just saying, hey, what's going on, and what's good things and what's bad things. And we can see that one of my questions will be, what's your interest in the seminar topic? And the people give out a very clear answers here or there. The lowest one, this kind of interests me because I did participate in certain a lot of similar seminars, but most likely I was a guest speaker for OSU before Ohio State. I was a guest speaker for UMass Amherst to talk about government career before. And I also every time I did give this out list, of course, difference in Chinese and English, but our answer for this seminar is very distinctly different compared with the school seminars, just because the lowest ones in our statistic for this question is actually degree qualifications. And later on, also take a look, is more than 60%, I think 33 of 58, have people who did this surveys have master degree and above, either a master or PhD. Which why I participate in other scenarios. Most people are some college graduate with 2.8 GPA asking, can I get a government job situation. So we can show that reflect our very confidence in our degrees, which are our hard skills. Obviously, and the hottest three topics we have is interview procedures, interview process, and how to prepare. It's a very typical our a Chinese American ways to do things. Is, hey, we want to know the procedure to process and prepare so I can strike for success. But it's showed also shows the problem is the lowest question will be is the government favored background and what's the job classifications. That means our interest is more into the hardwares, not the softwares, which is very different because in the U.S. government, as we know, lots of political correctness craps are always in place in the government, regardless of federal level, state level, or local level. Sometimes a strong hardware won't get you a job, which I will explain the reasons down the road why. But a lot of things is softwares. You have to know what's our advantage as Chinese Americans when we apply for a government job, and literally you have to play those cards. Because a PhD degree, if a position is requiring only a bachelor degree, you are a PhD and you are applying for it, a 5-point veterans can override you right there, and they will take that veterans are not taking your PhDs. So it's very different. Remember, when government is hiring, they are not looking for the strongest candidate, but the most suitable candidate. And when you apply, you have to think about how can I make myself into the most suitable candidate. It's very different with a private sector. If you are David working in a private sector, if he is hiring a positions, he probably looking for the person with the most talent and skills, and also the best candidate with highest degrees. But if I'm hiring a person, I can tell you because I did participate in hire other investigators, Chinese-speaking investigators. And I went through the entire hiring process because I'm the only Chinese-speaking investigators in the entire region. So I will give you more explanation. So after this presentations, I hope everyone have a basic understanding is, hey, I know at least how can I start it. Okay, we're changing the slide. Let me give a couple seconds for the slide to change. Okay, the PPT is here. The first reasons are always talking about the white federal jobs. Many people are thinking about white federal jobs also, especially for parents thinking for their kids, a person who is thinking about, hi, should I find a federal job? Federal job is basically start with the best things, the benefit, but not the pay. People will feel weird. It's people usually talking about, oh, like a federal job pays a lot or those kind of things. I say, I'm not sure about that, because federal jobs is usually below paid compared with the private sectors. So especially with if you do have a higher degree, such as a master's degree or like a PhD degree. I'm just tell you this: a federal investigators, like my positions, is usually started with a GS7 as it started, and in Columbus, Ohio areas, it's only about like a 38 grand per year as an initial salary. That's not a lot, and especially if I when I have a master's degree, if I work for some private firms, with my degrees, I'm probably looking for 6 figures. But however, the government does provide one of the best benefits in the job market, which we know one of the largest union in the United States is the federal employee unions, which are public sector unions. We have a membership of 1.3 million people. So when we have this big bargaining powers, we usually get a pretty good benefits out, such as health insurance, retirement plan, all those kind of things. Plus, we're the managers for all those kind of crap. So I don't know. I know one of my cousins, he worked for Microsoft. The first kid, he got only spent about $50 because back then he didn't get his Microsoft jobs. He was a poor student. So and we live in Massachusetts and we get paid for $50 because we have a universal health care. So the second kid, he worked in the Microsoft. Microsoft is already big companies. The problem is the health insurance compared with the federal is crap because he spent almost 10 grand for the second childbirth. Usually many people did pay 4 to 6, somewhere around there. For a federal job, my daughter was born, a totally out of pocket expense of $175 total. That doesn't count if I want to buy additional medications, those kind of stuff. But for childbirth, it's $175 total. So you can see that how the federal benefits really comes, but it's in the compensation of the pay. Because of course the federal government will try to make the effort to make you a pay plus, just because it's an acceleration very fast pace. Because as a federal investigator position, you start with a 7, then you jump into a 9. I'm talking about pay scales. I will explain more what's the difference in the pay scales. And 1 year later is 11, then 1 year later is 12, which is your promotion potential. That's about a 10 grand jump per year. For you, if you are a person working for a more investigating positions, I'm just talking about just 12 positions, you are about about 10 years you can make about 100K, something around there, but no more than that. If you are a manager, later on promoted right into manager positions, your pay cap is 155K per year. No more than that, regardless if you are not looking for very high appointed positions, which is not employment tracks. Your pay cap is 155K per year. And if you're a computer engineer, IT engineers, that thing is probably paid much less than you. So that's explains why FBS cannot crack that iPhones. Just because with a 155K, there's no way you hire a top engineer into a government. The second thing is the security, for sure. Everyone knows the concept of 铁饭碗 in the Chinese terms, which is federal government. As long as the United States government exists, the pay and your retirement plan is the biggest security. And the third one is challenge. It's very different. People will think about all the politics and everything else. Yeah, government is the front line to deal with all those kind of things, which is the most bureaucrat stuff. But there's a lot of challenges for the positions. For example, for investigating position like mine, our job is as early as 6, as late as 9. Sometimes it's overnight with lots of surveillance and everything else. Of course, if we are the civil side. If you are going to the criminal side, that means you are waving a gun and with a big a nice shade and a big jacket and state people's rights and handcuff them. There's a lot of challenges goes on, and however, because we're the federal level, we're dealing with the big things. We're not dealing with the small potatoes, small fries, like local cops does. If you're in, it probably will be a pretty hard case. The least is a regional hard case. It's a little bit more challenge. Of course, if you're also looking for like a 9 to 5 jobs, government has lots of those kind of things. Desk jobs, just processing papers, and unfortunately, those kind of things are usually will be said a person who's already age of 64 or something. And also serving the societies, many people are like after Jimmy Kimmel show and everything else, lots of people are like jump into the political careers, try to get things. However, first of all, one of the shortest things they have is the experience of serving societies. If you start with the government workers and you're really looking for political careers, it's a very good thing to create a route, because a federal job such as from a military to a federal job for careers, you can establish very deep roots, and you understand how the U.S. government actually functions. It will be greatly helpful for you if you are holding any public positions. Of course, the social connections. Think this way, my boss, district director George Victories. If you go to his office, you will see a big picture, him and President Obama shaking hands, and he says and there's Obama's signatures. Thank you, all things you done for George, and of course, my boss is from Chicago, so. And Obama is from Chicago, you know that thing. So in the government, lots of things you will know lots of different peoples. Personally, I did manage John Kerry, so here or there's a lot of social connections before. Also, understand how society operate, break the myth. So I can tell you, lots of people, especially in legal field and also in the government field, not many Chinese Americans are actually going to the field. That's why when we encounter many things, like Peter Liang's case, there's a huge myth always flying around. Sometimes if you ever work for the U.S. government or at least into this ballgame, you know those kind of things are not true at all. So, but however, because we have such a low percentage working in the government, for example, how many Chinese Americans who can speak Chinese ever work in the DA office? I don't think there's across the United States. Give me a handful. So if you do not have those people work in those kind of field, how can you know all the games and going on? And if you are the Peter Liang, also you cannot count anyone to help you, or at least give you a guidance to say, hey, you have to go through 1, 2, 3, 4. And Peter Liang himself is a local cop, NYPD cop. That means he's on the bottom of the food chain. So we need more people who work in U.S. government to also help our societies to raise the awareness and understanding of how the U.S. government operates. And by those ways, when something like Peter Liang happens, like Xiangxi happens, we have more ideas and more game-changing positions to change all those kind of stuff. And the last thing will be flexibilities. Your federal government is with how many offices around the United States. If you really want to transfer things, for example, my friend just the investigator before me working in Columbus, Ohio office. Her husband got a job in San Jose, California. She transferred right there, 2 weeks. So there's lots of transfer options. So it's not a companies you have really to think about. Does that company really have an office in those locations? Hey, United federal government. As long as you have a stay there, you will have a government building and to work for. Okay, cutting slide. We will see. Please take a couple of more seconds. Oh, okay, right here. And what is a federal job? People are always confusing. Does President Obama holding a federal job? Does a person let me think about a governor holding a federal job? Does a DA holding a federal job? So there's lots of concepts. When people are talking about a government job, people are always confused because the original Chinese concept, regardless you are holding a provincial jobs like a Zhongnanhai central government jobs or a local jobs, you are still all considered as 公务员 public officials. But the only thing is pretty different compared with the United States, because the United States will have like the state and the federal are literally parallel structured. So when we're talking about the federal, and I only talk about federal jobs, because the federal jobs have different requirement, looking for different things, and has like more restrictions in many cases compared with the state jobs and local jobs. And I may invite a couple of people who work for the state government and local government and talking about later on. But today we are focusing on the federal jobs. In the federal jobs, there's basically two different positions. One is appointed positions, and one is employed positions. Appointed positions is sort of you win elections, then you appoint your cabinet, such as the secretary of the secretary of Department of Labor. These are appointed positions. That means President Obama will raise hey, David Chen can be my secretary of labor, and the Congress approve it. He got the job. That's his sort of positions. However, if a president change, Donald Trump get on the presidency, says David Chen, I don't want you to be my secretary of labor. He got kicked immediately. So this is sort of a concept of when all those appointed positions does not belongs into a standard government pay scale, and its various terms sometimes often with a limit. So, but they are holding a more important positions as managers, such as policymakers, those kind of stuff, and they do have a power to make regulations. As long as they sign those kind of things make regulations, which we as investigators and other government workers need to follow those kind of regulations and guidance. And the second part will be my focus, which is employee position. Employee position is in our concept is more like a Chinese concept, is more like 力. So it's the concept will be 铁打的力流水的官, which 力 always works and often work for lifelong. I know somebody worked for a federal government for department for 43 years. Well, a secretary of Department of Labor usually on average is 3.5 years, something like that. So often those kind of actual employee positions, despite they do not make any policies, but they are the hands-on operators. Again, back to Chinese concept, 县官不是县管, and we are completely in the 县管 field. So this means on our field, as everybody knows, if I'm the cop, David is a driver, he got to put he's speeding a couple miles, I put him over. As my first line of workers, I can either give him a ticket, arrest him, or give him a general verbal warning. It's really on me as a first-hand operators to make the decisions, and that will be lots of gray areas, because even David is speeding a 75 on a 25. If I'm the cops, feel very happy tonight, I will just say be careful, do not do that again. But on the other side, if I feel very unhappy about today, David will spend the night in jail. So you can see how and remember, all the officials do have the ideas, they do have the regulation making powers, and they do have supervisory powers over all those workers, but they are not expert, a subject matter expert. These are all those kind of workers, those leads, actually have the power of first judgment. And if an official cannot get along with all those people under him, that person cannot get shit done, because you sort of all those workers, all the sergeants in the military, if you can give out what a command, we will do it, but we will never promise what's the outcome of what we're going to do it. And the government is if you pass a probationary period, government, you have to commit a rape a little girl or a serial killer, such a second degree murder or above or something, serious misconduct to get you fired, because your unions is will do anything to protect your jobs. So you have a literally lifelong employment. The bad thing of that thing is you see lots of old person in the field. When I get into my office, I was like 30, and I'm the second youngest person in that office. The youngest one is like 28, and the next one is 45. So you can see the age gaps, and we have like when my wife visits my office, I said, "Wow, I feel you're working a retirement call." Yeah, because the average of my office is probably you're looking for like 52 or something like that. Because both of our bosses, one is 64, one is 63, and they have like a lot of people who work 30 plus years in the federal government. So and also you have a very clear potential to know what's your standard, because all the government employees do have standard government pay scales, which I will again mention later on. The government scales is sort of because in the government it's not what you do good things, you get a big promotion. Your boss is very happy. Hey, David, you did such a good job, so I gave you like a 10 grand raise. No, that things. Government is very time based. Hey, David, you spend one more year. Hey, here's your pay raise. It's normally about 2 to 3 grand, something around there, depending on pay scales and the increase, and not into the cap stuff. And the only thing is may affect you will be, hey, do you get a change of positions, which change your GS pay scales, all those kind of stuff. Change slide.
You can just move on.
Okay. And the next thing is we talk about all the government jobs, but regardless you are in appointed positions or in a field worker's position, employee positions, one of the biggest thing is you have to be a U.S. citizen. That's the basic qualification of any federal jobs. And in our statistics, among all the 58 responses, is only about 72.4% are people are U.S. citizens. There are 25.9% are green card, and there's a very tiny little bit will be F1, J1, H1Bs. For all the 25.9 people, you have to change your status into U.S. citizenship. That's a must. The only thing is, except very, very few research positions or special medication required positions, which I will also mention in the later because people are talking about Chinese punctuations, those kind of stuff, or 针灸怎么说来着
？Punctuation.
Yeah, 就是 punctuation.
Yeah.
And so except those very tiny percentage, it's almost I say 0.9% of all the government jobs. U.S. citizenship also with a background check is the basic qualification of any federal government jobs. Green card still can be please remember, if you have a permanent residency or a green card, you are still considered as a foreign citizen by federal government. Many states and local governments do hire green cards, but not federals. That's a very strict situation. And no U.S. government, federal, state, or local hire nor sponsor H-1Bs. You have to know that. But however, their contractors may hire and sponsor H-1Bs. So, and as I said, we only discuss federal jobs for today. Just give me a second. Oh, by the way, just my footnotes. When we did the survey, I won't put this on, but all our kids, are U.S. citizens. If you are applying for a kid, that's a good part. You can pass the information. So you have no worry about anything like that. And changing slide. Okay, right here. And I also ask what's our purpose for these seminars. From the surveys, we can see most people are applying for themselves, and about it's about we can see out of 43 is for self, 22 is for kids in the range. Very few overlap here or there. And there's also 6 for a kid in the elementary school or a kindergarten. You guys are way ahead of the game. You have to wait till when they're trying to get at least into a high school junior year, try to give them ideas. But I will say, you can have this early in mind, because if you do receive the PowerPoint, to see the second portion of this PowerPoint, it's a talk about the U.S. Also from my Department of Labor. the department I work for, we do have a youth program. That means if you are like a qualified candidate, and if you do ever think about government careers, we do have youth participated programs, which people like your kid can work in the U.S. government with the actual workers to feel what it is like as a U.S. government jobs. That's a very good program, and I encourage people to take a look about it. And the problem is, when you see this surveys, I will think about this is the fundamental reasons I'm changing the whole thing into a parents or adult conversation instead of talking about the pathway of the kid, because I can see very few like ABCs are interested in these seminars. And so it may be I did send out all the communication methods through the Weixin group, which not many ABC are using it. But still, I believe many parents did send out like a message to at least to their kid, talking about the situations. Hey, do you really think about to hear that? But it seems not many people are interested into this. But I still want to say, encourage your children to explore different opinions, because seems like right now in the school areas, like in all the educational field, going to a government job, by many people are thinking about not cool, which I don't see the point. Because when I describe what I do in my daily job, most people will, wow, I want to get one of those jobs. But in college or in high school, when people about you got to work for a government job, oh, you work for the evil big brothers. I don't get where the concept and mentalities come from. I'm just saying, hey, maybe there's a brainwash, or maybe there's an anti-government like a mindset in the education field. I have no idea. But still, I'm just saying, as a parent, if you are a parent, I strongly encourage your kid to think about it, working for U.S. government, looking through different position, looking through different field. You may have different ideas for after your research for U.S. government. And and I tell you, get a U.S. government job is not that hard. Government itself is a big society. We do hire from very top line of engineers to the very bottom line of bookkeepers. Many of people will find it very suitable for government jobs, but they don't know it. So keep your mind open. If your kid is U.S. citizens, if you're U.S. citizens, if you're a green card ever thinking about getting U.S. citizenships, keep your mindset open for government jobs. And there will be a quick mention for all the military personnel, because I know such as Lulu and many a couple of people that are in the U.S. militaries. So I don't know why you participate in these seminars, just because for any questions you can talk with me. But hey, since you are here, I will mention for it. And also I do encourage, if you are a parent, if your kid is thinking of a military career, or at least for enlist for a couple of years, hey, that's good things. Do not think about the dangerous stuff, but good things. In the military, you can get post 9/11 J bills to clear out the path to college. You can get on-job trainings, or be crazy like me, because I'm a landman specialist, which I have no idea what should I use in the back to the homeland. Maybe become a terrorist and blow things up. I have no idea. But hey, at least I have fun for blowing stuff in the foreign countries. So if you're I strongly encourage your kid to go for a career of the U.S. military, because first of all, I can tell you, all the times they stay in the military service will be counted for a U.S. federal government job retirement point. What happened is, if you work for and also for the benefits also. For example, I work for the U.S. government, U.S. military for 8.5 years. I work for a National Guard, active duty, and the reserve, back and forth, lots of positions, and add up into different years, about 4 years in service. And those 4 years in service, when I get my job, I start I still get paid as a fresh newbies into the positions, but all my benefits will be a person who worked for that 4 years in that branch. So that means I immediately get a benefits a person who worked there for 4 years, such as I get additional time off, I get a better vacations, those kind of stuff. So you have to think about it, so serving the U.S. military is much better when you get a federal job. And also, if you are a veteran, you are on the first hire base because there's a law in place called Hiring-Wheeler Act. Hiring-Wheeler Act requires federal government, often state government, to hire a person, a veteran, which meets the basic line, not even like the best candidate. If there's a 10 candidate and the veteran meets the basic requirement, and you have to hire the veteran first. If you have like 10 candidates, 2 of them are veterans and meet the basic lines, you have to strip all the 8 first. You compare with that 2 and choose the best qualified candidate from that 2. You cannot, it's a law, you cannot hire the other 8. I don't care if the other 8 maybe have a PhD, maybe have like a very high like a careers or something else. They don't care. That's a veteran, they have priorities. That's why that's a good thing for federal government jobs for that. And for all the like investigators like me, because we're doing the Department of Labor jobs, we're doing law enforcement for labor laws. We do have lots of laws such as the Family Medical Leave Act, such as do have a special provisions just for veteran groups. So this means that every single year I do have special training. So for those veteran groups, just say in case you are veterans, you are entitled much more than normal people. So remember. Just like if you are search, always search some laws. Does it apply? Have special provisions apply for veterans? You are entitled to more than normal people. And the only things I have to emphasize for all the veterans is you need to get education, education, education. The biggest problem is for veterans is they do not meet the basic line, and they do not meet the basic line is. Most of them, especially infantry, combat engineers, they do not have a college degrees. Come on, you have post 9/11 JBOs. You're already fighting the fucking war. You already see the bullet. A pen and paper and a college test won't kill you. And get your educations. If you do get your education and everything else is set, I don't care what kind of degree you have, you are on the advanced track for a government job. That's all. Okay, changing slide. The next topic will be federal job is very new for Chinese Americans. I can see that, especially for the first generation of Chinese Americans. Because in our surveys, we can see about 94.8, which is dominant, have I'm just expand the question, not only you, but also your family members ever work for U.S. federal government. And plus, even in the state. Opened in the state, and also have you or your family members ever interviewed by U.S. government for a job, and also expand for the state. We can see the percentage of the whole situations, which is very, very a few people either have experience to work for U.S. government nor even heard about how to work for the interviews. That's prove my point. We are lack of experience in the U.S. government. Many people will just automatically put themselves into a position that says, hey, U.S. government job may be hard for me, and never apply for it. Or people never think about options. I'm just saying, hey, by looking at this, everyone knows there's a problem, and we need something to change. And when we talk about government jobs, as I said before, you are always cross over with the security clearance. I put in the security clearance is a very tricky thing, and we can see among our surveys among all the 58 peoples, 69% has said no, and 12.1% even ask a question. So what is security clearance? If you choose that options, you probably answered, hey, I have no idea. So add together, so you're looking for 80% of people ever work for doesn't even not know what is a security clearance. And there's a tiny percentage, yeah, you have a secret and above. You are in wrong conversations right now. Just because if you do have a security and above security clearance, apply. There's a few amount of jobs open for you. If you don't know how to apply for me, just WeChat me later on. Come on, you are in a complete wrong topic right now. And about 15.5% of people says yes, they do have a confidential and general background check. That's good for you, and lots of positions will be passed for will be applied for you.